It's a great pleasure to welcome Barry Neethling, the Chief Technology Officer at First Technology Group, to What's Next. And it's great to have you with us, Barry. Lovely to talk to you. Barry, by the way, is an expert in assisting companies to get the best value for Microsoft licenses and related matters to large corporations. And of course, it's today companies are deploying and using many different licenses, and it's important to have the right licenses. It'll save you money and make you work effectively. And he's been involved in licensing for close to 30 years. So, Barry, there's certainly, that's somebody that understands technology better than anybody else. But before we talk about licenses, I'm also fascinated with your fascination of building commercial digital cinemas, because that I find absolutely fascinating, especially the evolution of technology, right? Because today, these cinemas have become quite sophisticated with, Atmos surround sound systems and that sort of thing. How did you get into that, by the way?
Oh, I've always been involved with it. So I don't really build cinemas. I have been involved in doing that, but I'm involved in some of the areas of post production. So some of the movies that have been released in South Africa, South African-based movies, I've been involved in their production and also the sound systems and acoustics that go with that. So I know a fair bit about sound standards and how you kit out theaters and how you kit out studios to ensure that you are producing a movie with the best possible experience. It's quite sophisticated these days with immersive sound, which is very much an Atmos domain. If you go to a Netflix movie, it will say it's in Atmos, which is really an immersive rendering standard. But the movie industry actually operates at a higher standard, which is the SMPTE standard, which is royalty free. So that's pretty much the area that I play in, is in that space. So it's very, very, very exciting. And you encounter AI everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Yes. Well, I think we need to do a separate interview on that, because I find that fascinating. But put on your Chief Technology Officer at First Technology Group hat on now, and let's talk about licenses, because you just mentioned AI right now, and it's certainly dominating organizations. It's changing everything we do. Can you start off by sharing your thoughts on why it's important for people to experiment with and embrace AI technologies like Copilot in organizations? I mean, for me, for one, I think it really sparks off a tremendous amount of innovation, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, Barry.
Well, I think AI is another tool. It's a brand new tool that we've only really started to experience over the last 2 years that can truly empower us in the workplace. It allows us to do things more effectively, more efficiently, and to enhance our ability to do things in ways that we've never dreamt of. But like all tools, you have to start experimenting with it. So talking about AI is one thing, but working with AI and playing with it is a whole different thing. And it is something that I absolutely encourage everybody to try and do. In whatever their job is, AI can play a role in enabling you or enhancing you with what you do. It can help you with your memory. It can help make better meeting notes. It can do so much for you. So, but you can only really figure out what AI can do. Now, remember, AI has come along at such an incredible fast pace. Nobody can regard themselves to be that much of an expert any more than what you are by maybe more than 3 years. So if you think that you're not an expert in AI, well, join the club. All of us are learning. So, but one thing going to be for sure is if you do not start playing with it, do not start experimenting with it, you'll increasingly become the non-expert as other people start learning about it. And only you, in what you do, can become an expert in understanding how AI can help you. And you need to do it, not anybody else. And you need to be exposed to it. So that's something that I encourage people all the time. Anytime I talk to anybody, I'm encouraging them to use AI and find ways in which AI can help them. Experiment. It is the most incredible tool that has ever come around in our entire lives in IT. I've got a lot to say about the calculator, but this is a far bigger event in when the spreadsheet was invented. Up to that point, accountants worked on big pieces of paper and calculators and slide rules. Then came the spreadsheet, VisiCalc. It's, I think, a little more than 40 years old now. And this thing revolutionized the world. And everybody thought they were going to lose their jobs. They didn't. But the people that didn't embrace the calculator and the spreadsheet after the calculator, the guys that didn't embrace that, they became irrelevant and they went out and did farming or did something else that didn't need a spreadsheet. Really, at the end of the day, history is repeating itself as much as what we had the change from the calculator and the slide rule to the spreadsheet. And the very first spreadsheet was called VisiCalc. I remember it. Oh, my heavens, I'm giving my age away. But that change is occurring now, but at an accelerated pace and far more dramatic. So AI is exciting. You have to embrace it.
Yes. Listen, I didn't want to say it, but you said you were giving your age away when you mentioned VisiCalc in the calculator. But I didn't want to say anything because it brought back memories for me too. But let's leave it at that, Barry. Look, it's fantastic, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's really revolutionizing everything around us, and it's growing, and the pace at which it's moving at is quite extraordinary. What are your concerns and thoughts around security and privacy? Because a lot of people have concerns around AI accessing company data. Who has access to their data? What do they do with their data? How do businesses address those challenges? Because data is the glue. It's the oil of any organization. You mess with the data and you lose the data. It's a big challenge. So how do businesses address those challenges? Security and privacy.
Well, I think we must acknowledge that AI successfully deployed in a corporate environment with access to corporate data is the ultimate honeypot of a hacker or any attacker trying to find out or manipulate information about a company. So it is very important to go through the process of ensuring that it's secured. Now, right now, in the world of AI, Microsoft is actually ahead of the game in trying to ensure that there's an ecosystem in place that allows you to categorize and make sure that what data the AI has access to is limited to what you believe is appropriate for the AI to access for the benefit of your employees. So when you start thinking about AI in your corporate environment, it's not about just letting AI loose in it, because you can have very interesting consequences. And there's some very nice anecdotal stories about what happens when you let AI loose on a 20-year-old email archive. Man, it can get interesting, like surfacing payroll data that is maybe 15 years old. Payroll data that's 15 years old can certainly be a cause of embarrassment to people today. So you need to make sure that when you are deploying AI, you are paying proper attention to what the AI gets access to, how your data is categorized, and ticking all the boxes in terms of privacy as well. So when your employees are using the AI to support them in what they do, and the AI is accessing archival data in your business, you've thought about what that archive is made up of that the AI is accessing. Microsoft is very far ahead of the game of ensuring that there's an ecosystem of security tools in place that you can deploy to prepare your environment for it. So my message to companies is typically most big companies are vested in the Microsoft ecosystem. So that is the ecosystem that should pay the primary attention to say, now, how do I use that system to ensure that my data is properly classified, secured, etc., around what an employee may access through the AI. So don't just rush out there and say, hey, let's go mad with AI. Think about what that AI is going to access. So that is a very important message, and I keep going on about it. I'm a stuck record over it. Don't let an AI loose without thinking about what you're doing. because it can be very interesting, the consequences.
No, exactly. And Barry, and the other thing as well is that, companies have got so much data that's not structured. It's, it's sitting all over the place. So you don't know. You mentioned payroll data. That's a classic example of what you talk about. So that's one of the warnings, Barry. But I'd love to hear more on your thoughts about the benefits and the potential of AI in the workplace. And what does the research show? Because you've got your finger on the pulse of AI and the impact that AI is having on employee productivity, for example, and satisfaction. I read a beautiful analogy of AI. It's almost like, and it augments us into doing things better, right? It's like a superpower. I don't know what your
Yeah.
thoughts are and what the research is showing.
Yes, I totally agree. I think AI is a way in which we can give ourselves many superpowers, not just one. And, as we get older, we need superpowers quite badly. So I think really what AI is able to do, it enables us to be empowered with being able to do things that we are more challenged with in the past. For example, this conversation, being able to record this conversation and to be able to summarize it in a way that we can efficiently distribute it to colleagues about the important points that you and I spoke about is very much a game changer, because it's not like you have to then have this discussion we're having now and then spend the next hour trying to write notes about it. The AI is able to produce those notes immediately, and to be able to do it very effectively if you prompt it correctly. So an AI is only good as how you ask the question. But that is one of the superpowers. The other superpowers are all related to how we engage and work with people, to support in what we say, to add more information to it, to highlight outcomes of meetings, what we need to do as next steps. All of these things are little superpowers as we go along the way. And if you look at where the most powerful superpower that Microsoft is able to serve up in AI at the moment is in the Teams ecosystem, which is massive. And in that ecosystem, Microsoft is phenomenal in being able to do meeting summaries, to create notes around that meeting, and think of it going forward. Microsoft is going to be able to not only identify who's speaking, which you can do already, but imagine it's going to be able to identify sentiment as well. It's going to be able to pick out in this meeting, XYZ person was in a bad mood or he sounded angry. This person sounded sick. This person wasn't paying attention. The amount of information that AI can give us to understand how we interact with the world around us is another superpower. We become more sensitive to how we talk and interact with people because of the telemetry that AI can be giving us during a meeting and then after a meeting. It also allows people to attend meetings virtually. Instead of you attending the meeting, you send your agent to attend the meeting. And that agent can then create the summary for you and be able to tell you what you needed to know about the meeting that you weren't able to attend. So these superpowers are just getting more and more and more impressive as time goes by. And that barrier between us as an analog human and the AI as a digital thing that sits inside a computer, those barriers are going to keep falling as time goes by. And we must remember the pace of technological change is increasing even faster than what it has over the last 2 years. Because remember, if you think back 3 years ago, this discussion would have almost been in the world of science fiction. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about? This is not possible what you can do in a computer. 3 years ago. Now, imagine what it's going to look like in 5 years' time. Bearing in mind that the pace of change is even faster.
Well, look, I'm glad you mentioned the pace of change, because that's what I wanted to ask you. When you're looking ahead and you look at this incredible pace at which it's moving at, even the guys that are on top of the game, the Sam Altmans of the world and the Anthropic and all of these organizations, they're talking about AGI, which is, even moving ahead. And I remember even the head of Google's AI back in the day and the guys at Microsoft AI. When I say back in the day, I just mean just a few years ago. They were saying, oh, AGI is 10 years away. It's, in the next decade, we'll see, AGI. Now they're talking about AGI in the next 3 years, 2027, 2028. And I even look at that and I think it's going to be even sooner than that. So what's your pace and your view on this, the pace of technological change and the future capabilities of AI? AGI scares me a little bit, I must be honest, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I think firstly, AGI is a very fluid definition of, different people will have different views of what AGI is. But really, at the end of the day, the high level view of AGI is that you're going to have a computer or a system, an AI system that is intelligent as intelligent as a human in all aspects of what humans are capable of, making it, in a sense, more intelligent than any human, because who can be an expert in every field that a human can be in? So AGI in its fullest form is already, in my opinion, more advanced than a human. Now, that is going to be a complete game changer in terms of how we work with and use AI in the workplace and what AI will be able to do for us going forward, in particular with research. That is, being able to invent new things, particularly accelerating the pace of the invention of new things. So I don't think we should think that AI is going to make the human go away. The AI is going to empower humans to do greater things quicker. For example, there's a fantastic Harvard study that shows that people in a company that have been given AI to use as a tool to help them in their job have found a massive improvement in their intelligence and productivity. There are many different ways to measure it. But basically, their capability has been improved by up to 40%. Now, it's a bit of a curve. So people that are maybe medium to low performers in a company, those people benefit the most from AI. And the best performers in a company, they benefit the least from AI. But everybody benefits from it. Now, that is AI as it is today. Now, with AGI and the new type of AI intelligences coming down the line in the next few years, imagine the boost that people are going to get. But if you're not experimenting with it today, you are going to start falling behind in understanding how you work with an AI to enhance what you do. So as much as what there are research studies being done about what AI can do today for you in the workplace, it's also about staying up to speed with AI and continuously benefiting from what AI can do as it evolves. For example, let's go back to the calculator and the spreadsheet analogy. If you went from a slide rule straight into Excel with no steps in between, that's one hell of a shock to go from, not knowing how a spreadsheet works at all to being faced with Excel in one fell swoop. There's no evolution in your experience. So if the people that then started out with the most primitive spreadsheet that was ever released, which was VisiCalc, and then evolved with how a spreadsheet became more successful or more sophisticated, those people were the ones that started to truly embrace what the technology could do for them to benefit their business. So instead of having 20 accountants, you only had 5 accountants, and they were amazingly hot with spreadsheets. Now, that's going to be the same thing with AI. You've got to be part of this journey, because the longer you are not part of this journey, the harder it is going to be to catch up, and the harder it is going to be to understand how the AI can empower you in your work. Yes, it will be more intelligent, and it might help you to be empowered quicker, But at the end of the day, you've got to be working with the stuff. You've got to be in the soup of it. You can't be sitting on the outside. And that's the thing that I'm almost like a stuck record on, is I keep encouraging people to please start playing with it. And there are many ways to play with it. It's not just Copilot. There are many other AI systems. And remember, as technology is becoming more sophisticated, faster, and more dense, AI is not just about something you access from the cloud. AI is something that you access on your PC. So the new PCs that you're seeing from AMD and Intel and Qualcomm running Microsoft Windows on them, those PCs are empowered in their own right to be able to do things on your to do things that you never dreamt. Even even a year ago, you couldn't dream what these computers could do. Now they can do it. And now we know with certain announcements from TSMC. So remember, today, the M4, Apple's just released the M4 range, okay?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
M4 CPUs are based on a 3 nanometer fabrication process, a lithography process of 3 nanometers, okay? Today, ASMR has announced the shipping of 1 nanometer lithography machines, 10 angstroms. They're shipping them now to fabricate CPUs that are now 1 nanometer, not 3 nanometers, which the new CPUs of Intel are. Now imagine that is a 3-fold increase in density between now and what manufacturers are going to be shipping in 2 to 3 years' time. Now, that is only in 2 to 3 years' time. Imagine what you're going to be seeing in 5 years' time. And this is not guessing anymore. We know this is a fact because the machines to make these CPUs are being shipped. Intel has already got them in their factories, and they're starting to experiment with these new lithography processes. So when I sit back and make these grand statements of what the world is going to look like in 5 years' time, I'm pretty accurate because the fundamental pieces that make up these computers are already out there, being able to fabricate these pieces to make up computers with computational capability that we literally cannot imagine. Yet, the tech is there. And yet, we're going to see it in 5 years' time. So it almost becomes a bit of a loop.
Yeah.
You know what's being shipped today. You have a hell of a good idea what they're going to be doing in 3 years' time. And you have a pretty good idea of what's going to be coming out in 5 years' time. And none of this is guesswork. None of it. After 2030, I'm not sure. And I can't predict. And if you read a lot of stuff out there, I can't really predict what the world's going to look like beyond 2030. Because remember, it's not just computational capability; it's display technology. And if you want to blow your mind,
Yes.
go to the Solid Light website, which is light field wave synthesis type technology, or wavefront technology in terms of light. Now, imagine a display that is able to produce a 3-dimensional image that is of such quality it is indistinguishable from reality. You know the Star Trek holodeck? Well, they have it.
Yes.
Not in terms of the holodeck, in terms
That's
of matter,
astonishing.
but they have it in terms of light already. Go onto the internet, Google solid light, and sit back and have your mind blown. Now, that type of technology will start becoming accessible in about 5 years' time. Because if you are creating displays that are down to the resolution of photons, you need incredible data transfer rates. And we're not quite there yet. But in 5 years' time, we will be. And that is where technology is going. And infused through all this is AI. That is intelligent computing systems that are able to support these incredibly sophisticated systems. So, yeah, I think my biggest wish is I wish I was 30 years younger, because just imagine what the world's going to look like in 30 years' time. So I really wish I was just 30 years younger. That's my biggest wish, if there was any wish, if I could make any wish.
I think you and I are going to witness a lot of what you're talking about. So in your view, How can individuals and businesses leverage AI as a kind of superpower in their daily lives and work? Because look, let's be honest, a lot of them have unlocked and bought licenses for Copilot, but I do find that many organizations don't use that stuff effectively. Or am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. Organizations sort of activate Copilot and tell employees, well, you've got Copilot. And the employee is sitting there will saying, now what do I do? So it is the responsibility of a company that deploys AI in the form of Copilot or any other system, but let's use Copilot. It's their responsibility to educate the employee as to what Copilot can enable them to do and to give them examples of it. And the easiest, the low-hanging fruit is recording and distributing notes of meetings, summarizing a long document, doing something in your daily job at your company that an AI helps you do it more efficiently or adds some extra intelligence or knowledge to what you are doing. And the job of companies is to educate employees as to what this technology is. And that's where Microsoft has also done a very good job with their academy in terms of making sure that if you deploy this technology to your employees, you're also deploying the necessary training and awareness training to these people. So they don't just get given an icon on a screen and said, like, have a nice day, have fun. Yes, if you are a imaginative person, you'll see this icon and you'll start asking the AI, how do I use you? Those are like the obvious things. Okay, you're an icon. Okay, well, let me click you and say, well, tell me about yourself. What can you do for me? And believe it or not, it will actually start interacting with you. But a lot of people need that nudge. They need to understand that the computer that you just typed on is not the computer that you are now engaging with going forward. It can interact with you with your voice. Voice can be enabled. It can interact with you and sort of bubbling up what emails that you have done for the last week and what you owe your colleagues in terms of emails that have been sent to you and saying, hi there, Aki, we're waiting for this response from you. Monday morning, you can ask the AI, what have I forgotten to do over the last week? And boom, it tells you. It's amazing stuff. It's bailed me out of trouble a few times. So getting into AI, you can do it simply, easily, without making people scared. But it's a company's job to assure employees, don't be scared, embrace it, use it, look at the courses, understand what AI is all about and how we've deployed it in your company, and use it to search your email and tell me what I've forgotten to do or what I should be doing for next week. It's simple stuff.
Yes.
You don't have to be a brain surgeon or an IT wizard to use AI. AI is something that anybody can get to use to improve what they do. It's your superpower. Go find it. Go see how it can become your superpower. But unless you start looking for it to be your superpower, you'll never find it. Just don't find your kryptonite. Find your superpower. But that's why I keep encouraging people, don't reject AI. Even in schools as well. A lot of schools and educational institutions have the view of, don't use AI, it's like cheating. Well, maybe go back into history and take a look what happened to the calculator, and how calculators are allowed in schools and how other tools are now allowed in schools that you're allowed to use as part of how you write your exam. So tools that were regarded as cheats in the past now become an essential part of your job. So AI is one of those things, but it's coming at a pace that is tenfold faster than the transition from the calculator to the spreadsheet. And we need to bear that in mind. That this pace of change is just accelerating. It's not slowing down. And for me, it's scary, but crazily exciting.
Yeah. But Barry, you're going to find those people and you found them when the calculator first came out, that are hesitant to embrace AI, and it's a human thing, right? Whenever there's something new technology,
State of change.
it's almost like a fear. It's a fear, right? How
Yes.
can they overcome that resistance? What do you do for people like that? How can you help them?
Get frustrated with them and hit them over the head. I think to really encourage people that this is not a threat to their jobs, but an empowerment. As a matter of fact, the greatest threat to somebody's job today is to not embrace AI, because at a point, a company will think about employing somebody that is able to use AI to do their job more efficiently than employing somebody that is stubbornly not using an AI because he believes he can do it all by himself. At a point, it will get to this situation where the employer will say, you know what, if I employ this guy and he really knows how to use AI, he can have 10 meetings in one day and produce the most incredible meeting summaries. But this dude, he can only do 5 meetings in one day. His summaries are good, but he's exhausted the next morning because he's been sitting up all night listening to the meetings and trying to do the summaries. Yeah, sorry, we can't employ you, dude. Your output is just not even close to what we're looking for, because this guy, he's embraced AI. All he's doing is taking the notes from the AI and polishing it. So one of the things that one would also encourage people to do is, not only just use an AI, but also learn how to prompt it. And even ask the AI, I've asked you to do this for me, but it didn't work out very well. How can I ask you the question so you can do the job better? So learning about how to talk to an AI is also very important. And it's like a skill you've got to learn yourself. So you've got to spend time communicating with an AI, treating it as a human, knowing that it's not a human, it's just a predictive LLM system, but engaging with it so you can start getting a feeling of when you ask it questions and it gives you a whole lot of rubbish versus asking it questions and it gives you something useful. And then to use your own intelligence to know when it's giving you a bunch of rubbish. If the AI comes up with a bunch of absolute gibberish, you need to be able to see that. So just copying and pasting what an AI gives you is also not a smart thing to do. You need to add your value as the human to say, I can see what you've told me, Mr. AI. I get it, but I don't quite agree with it. And then tell the AI, and exhort the AI into doing better. If the AI gives you a bad answer, tell it. Your answer was not good. You can do better. Try harder. Because you know what? In telling it to try harder, it might actually use more compute resources to actually give you a better answer. If an AI just gives you an answer and you don't tell it to work at it, maybe it's not going to tap into more compute resources. So you are dealing with something that you've got to learn to manipulate and to get to do what you want it to do. And just like a kid that stubbornly doesn't want to do something, you sometimes got to goad it and encourage it and prod it and poke it and do things to it. That's exactly what you have to do with an AI. And there are fabulous papers on the internet, research papers from Harvard, that talk a lot about how you engage and teach an AI to engage with you better. And how do you talk to an AI? Prompt engineering is something that's not going to be around for long. It's going to disappear because AIs are going to be so intelligent, you're not going to need to be an expert in prompt engineering, but you are going to remain to be an expert in communication and conveying what you want. And that's where the research papers are heading. So I think anybody listening to this talk, if they're really interested in a lot more of this and want to go down the rabbit hole of reading these research papers, please reach out to your First Tech contact, or you can put a link in the story or do something, and I can direct you to where all the stuff is. You can Google a lot of it, but some of it is buried a bit, and it takes a little bit of hunting around to find out, and I can make it a little easier for you to find out. But a lot of what I say doesn't come just from me. It comes from other experts out there that have been researching AI from the get-go in the United States that really have some fantastic ideas. And I tap into what they say and think too. It's not just about me and what I think. It's also about me taking what other people think and then giving my own opinion to this. So if you want to go and read those papers, you want to actually read what some of the stuff is that I'm talking about, that research about how people use AI to become so much more capable in the business, like up to 40% more capable. If you want to read those papers and even use those papers to motivate why AI needs to be deployed in your business, by all means get hold of me. I will be happy to give you access to all of these papers. They're free. There's no paywall. You can download the stuff. It's all out there. And what's even cooler, you can give the AI those very papers and say, please read this 100-page paper and tell me how I can use AI as it is applicable to my business by first uploading a whole lot of documents about your business to the AI. It will blow your mind what the AI can give back at you. It will blow your mind. And that is about how you use an AI.
Well, Barry, you've certainly blown my mind today. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you. And you've inspired me and given me lots of rabbit holes to jump into and be that inquisitive person that I am. So thank you very much, Barry. Really appreciate your time. Barry Neethling is the Chief Technology Officer at First Technology Group. And I hope that he's inspired you as much as he's inspired me talking to him today. Barry, thank you for your time.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.